All right, time now to talk some high school football on the air, which is better than what we were talking about off the air, along with Eric Rogers. I am Rich Reynolds. Yeah, a little behind the scenes humor there. This WIAA report brought to us by Supercharged Foods. And let's jump right in as we are getting closer and closer to the playoffs. Just 2 weeks left in the regular season. We got to see some Big 8 action the other night at Brighton Box Stadium and saw a pretty good Middleton Cardinal team that might be playing its best football of the year right now.
Gosh, you might look at that team and say they were just totally overpowered Janesville Craig. I mean, Craig hung in there. I mean, it was 13-7 at half, and then it was just a couple interceptions in the second half by Kevin Miker, the DB. He took one back to the house, which sealed that game, and it was just a lot of overpowering offense and defense, and some of those miscues that hurt Middleton in the first half weren't there in the second half.
Yeah, and how good was Bryce Carey, too, at quarterback? One of the prettiest throws we've seen all year on play action in a double coverage, drops it in, like dropping it into the bucket, a beautiful throw, and then also with his feet. Man, dude's athletic.
Yeah, I mean, when you're a second-team all-conference wide receiver the year before, and then you come in at quarterback, those skills are, they're going to translate to a lot of rushing yards on the ground as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Sets up a pretty big game in the Big 8 Conference. I guess it's a big game every year when it's Middleton against Sun Prairie. So that one will be really interesting as that might decide the top of the conference right there. Also hanging out, by the way, at the top of the conference, Madison Memorial at 6-1 now. They win once again. We see Verona a winner over La Follette. La Follette still alive in the playoff chase.
Yeah, I got a couple of notes just looking at the playoff scenarios right now. Memorial, Sun Prairie, Middleton, Verona, Craig, they've all clinched playoff spots. Beloit Memorial, Madison East, Janesville Parker are out. The team's still hanging on there, as you said, Madison La Follette and Madison West. They're both playoff eligible if they can get a win, but they do not clinch a playoff spot unless they win both their final 2 games. So they've got a tough schedule here.
You can get in with 4 wins. We've seen that over the last couple of years, teams getting in with 4 wins, but you need a little bit of help and the way that the rest of the records fall out basically across the rest of the state. Right. So you need a little bit of help on that. So very interesting to see in the Big 8 Conference, again, that big Cardinal versus Cardinal matchup. We go to the Badger North right now, and in the Badger North, we want to talk once again, of course, about Wanakee's hanging out at the top of the conference at 7-0.
Yeah, I was looking at the score and saying 45-14. Boy, that's about as close as it gets for Wanakee this season. And you look at what Reedsburg
did. They squeaked that one out.
Gosh, yeah, I mean, how about that? Jarrett Wolf remained perfect in Wanakee's win. He hit all 11 of his passes, which is a 3rd week in a row he's not missed on a completion. I mean, just accuracy at quarterback, obviously being able to pound the rock. Will Ross, 14 carries, 124 yards, and 3 touchdowns in that one. So, yeah, getting it done in the air and on the ground. I mean, the defense as well. I mean, what more can you say?
Yeah, Coach Rice seems pretty stacked right there. Again, Baraboo win. They keep their playoff hopes alive. How about DeForest right now, setting up a pretty big matchup in the Badger North Conference, them and Mount Horeb next week. DeForest gets to host that one. Both teams playing really good football.
Absolutely. I mean, they're obviously clinched playoff spots right now. Again, with the playoff scenarios, you have Baraboo, who is playoff eligible, can clinch a playoff spot with a win this week. They are at Wanakee, so obviously that's going to be a tough one. Reedsburg can be playoff eligible if they get a win, and they have to win 2 to get in again. So same kind of scenario there. So tough remaining schedule there. But yeah, this is going to be another exciting couple weeks here coming up.
Absolutely. We are going to be in the Badger South Conference for our next football game, taking a look at a couple of teams there, taking a look at the conference. How about that Watertown versus Stoughton game? Just 2 weeks ago, we had Stoughton on. Yeah, Oregon put a hurt on them in a game that we had here on 57, and Stoughton loses that one. Now they lose 2 weeks in a row as Watertown takes them out.
Well, and that was actually a close game, and Stoughton was in position to win that ball game late, but Watertown scores 2 touchdowns in the last 8 minutes of that game, pull ahead, get the win. Ethan Pauly, the quarterback, 353 yards and 3 touchdowns for the Goslings. So watch out for Watertown. They're, I don't want to say quietly 6-1, but I don't know that anybody expected them to be here right now, and where Stoughton is 5-2, which they were atop the conference a couple weeks ago, and now a couple losses, and their schedule doesn't get any easier. Next week they are at Monona Grove, and then they have to try and clinch their playoff spot. They're not in yet. They got to face, Monona Grove and Fort Atkinson, so one would think they would get that win on the last win of the season, if nothing else.
Yeah, and if nothing else, and it should be a tough game against Monona Grove. Monona Grove, we saw them earlier this year. They're really good, and they went out and proved it again. Yeah, against Milton, 35-0 win there. I like that team going into the playoffs.
I mean, they've got it all working. They've got a head coach who's taken the reins from Mike Stassi, and it's been obviously a team that's been there before. Stoughton, I'm not so sure which direction they're going to head this year. I mean, they've not really had those signature wins against big teams. The teams that are 500 or better, they've been losing those games. So you look at the top half of the conference, it is top heavy here. Maybe the surprise be, Monona Grove, Watertown, Oregon, and are the ones that have clinched. And I'd say Oregon's looking at, pretty good right now at 5-2. So watch out for the Panthers.
Yeah, and Oregon got a lot of their tough games out of the way, but one more left. That Oregon versus Watertown game should be a really good one.
So again, yeah, definitely to determine which, seedings and where they're going to be, how you're feeling going into the postseason. Obviously a big part of how that thing goes.
For us, we're going to be back at Brighton Box Stadium. We're going to take a different look at the Badger South, taking a look at Edgewood versus Monroe. Been a tough year for Monroe once again, for a team that's had a lot of tradition. For Edgewood, still trying to build, and it's been a bit of a rebuilding process there.
Yeah, and I mean, just real quick about Monroe and Fort Atkinson, how that was Monroe's first win of the season, and to win that big just tells you there is some work to be done there at the bottom of the conference.
No doubt. For Eric, I'm Rich. This has been our report, brought to us by Supercharged Foods.